right, welcome back to the Loreverse. So, Frank Castle has always been the broken soldier, but One Last Kill takes that concept and turns it into a darn near horror movie. We've seen, Frank grieve before, but we've never seen him collapse like this. This isn't just PTSD, this is a full scale psychological war where Frank's own mind has turned against him. And the horrifying truth is that Frank Castle is finally dead and only the Punisher remains. Now, this special was insane, very emotional, very retrospective, and gave us a quick, deep character dive while showing us where he is going in the future because we already know where he's going to be. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, today we are talking about why the Punisher still sees his family in the Punisher One Last Kill. Some of you guys might think that it's annoying to see it over and over again, but there is a deeper meaning to this. So let's break this down. This is your boy Stevie Hayes. This is the Loreverse, and let's dive into this. When the special opens, Frank is at zero. No Micro to guide him, no Curtis to ground him, and no Karen Page to remind him he's human. Following the Red Hook breakout in Born Again, Frank is a ghost. He's living in the guts of the city, abandoned subway tunnels, and rotted out warehouses. And Frank Castle survives through structure, right? Violence is his calendar, war is his clarity, but without a mission, his mind starts eating itself up. The trauma he's been outrunning since season one of the Netflix era has finally caught up to him, and in the silence of his isolation, the voices have started talking back. And this is the detail that you kind of have to catch here because these visions aren't just sad memories, they are manifestations, they are tactical. Frank's subconscious is essentially a combat computer that he realized its pilot is losing his will to fight. So it's generating a stimuli to keep him in a war zone type of mindset. Now, most stories use a hero's family as a North Star to guide him back to the light. But One Last Kill kind of flips that script and makes them enablers. So, in one of the most chilling scenes in MCU history, Frank sees his son, Frank Jr., but he isn't playing with soldiers. He's looking at Frank with cold eyes and saying, "Get him, daddy. Get every last one." This is devastating because it means that Frank has spent so many years killing in their name that his brain has fundamentally rewritten their personalities. He has turned his innocent children into bloodthirsty justifications. And the family he sees isn't his family anymore. It's a psychological mechanism designed to keep the Punisher's finger on the trigger. Then we get to the military visions, right? Frank sees the dead Marines from Operation Cerebrus. These ghosts are the addiction side of his trauma. Now, this reveals the truth. Frank didn't become the Punisher when his family died in Central Park. He became the Punisher in the mountains of Afghanistan. The family was just the excuse, right? The military vision symbolizes his addiction to the adrenaline, then the chaos and the mission. He's a shark that dies if he stops swimming. And these ghosts are the ones keeping him moving through the freaking water. And this is really the central tragedy. Frank Castle doesn't know how to exist in a world without an actual enemy. Matt Murdock, right? He fights because he believes he can fix the world. Frank fights because the fight is the only place he makes sense. So by the midpoint of the special, Frank realizes that everyone responsible for his family's death is already in the ground. He has no more revenge left to take, and yet he still wants to kill. The visions aren't mourning the past, they are demanding a future of violence. And we see that the story here centers on a young girl being hunted by the new chief crime family. And to the world, she's a victim. To Frank, she's a trigger. Every time she screams, Frank doesn't just see her, he sees his own daughter's final moments. And this is the final test of his sanity. Can he save one life to make up for the thousand he's taken, or is he just using her as another reason to feed the beast? And Maganucci isn't just a mob boss, she's a predator. Rumors suggest that, she's figured out, Frank's mental instability and uses it against him. So she doesn't just see a hitman, she sees reminders. And she attacks Frank's where he is weakness, which is the gap between who he was and what he's become. And what's happened is One Last Kill is really the ultimate misdirect because it sounds like a retirement plan at first. It sounds like Frank is getting closure. But the reality is there is no such thing as a one last kill for a man like Frank. So this special isn't about Frank Castle retiring. It's about Frank Castle actually accepting his killing and murdering nature. It's the moment he stops pretending he's a grieving father and admits to himself that he's a professional killer. He stops using the family as a shield and starts using the skull as his skin. Now, by the finale, the vision changed. They stopped talking, they stopped encouraging him, they just stare because Frank doesn't need the excuse anymore. This is the final psychological break. He stopped seeking closure because closure is for people who want to go home. Frank Castle has no home. He is the mission. He is the permanent solution to a permanent problem. And the psychological evolution is a direct setup for Spider Man Brand New Day because Peter Parker is the friendly neighborhood hope. He believes in second chances. This new, honest version of the Punisher, he doesn't believe in chances at all. He believes in erasing. And when these two finally meet, it's going to be the most insane moral conflict in MCU history because the boy who represents the future versus the man who is haunted by the past. So, why does he still see them? He still sees them because they are two halves of his identity. So, one is the family, right? They represent the guilt, the humanity he can never touch again. And the soldiers, they represent the nature, the war machine he's been since the beginning. And together they create the Punisher, a man who isn't a hero or a villain, but a force of nature consumed by violence. One last kill proves to us that ghosts never really leave. You don't heal from being the Punisher. You just learn to live in the graveyard. Frank isn't fighting for revenge anymore. He's fighting because war is the only thing that keeps the silence away. The man is gone, and the mission for the Punisher is all that is left. And the question is the MCU ready for a Punisher who has finally stopped lying to himself? And the thing is, Matt isn't there to save him anymore. Karen is not going to be there. We're going to see his next interaction with Spider-Man. And we saw from the trailer that Spider-Man knows that Frank Castle is nuts in the way that he talks to him, tells him to go home, right? So I'm glad that they positioned Punisher in a way to show us where he's going to go next without spoiling everything. I think the job that the Punisher special was supposed to do, it did that job, and I really, really did enjoy it. But I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Do you guys like the way that I kind of described this? Do you guys agree with his kind of mental psyche and where he's at? Please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, and peace out.